Aaron Ahuvia is a professor of marketing. He's widely regarded as the world's leading authority on why consumers love certain products, and is also an internationally recognized expert on the relationship between income and happiness.
Thank you. The main area that I want to talk about is what it means for people to love something that isn't another person. Is there anything that you love that is not another person? Is there a place that you love that is not, obviously, a person? Is there an activity that you feel that you love? Is there anything that you spend money on or could spend money on? It could be a product, it could be an activity, what have you, but something that involves the marketplace in some way that you love. Got those in your head? I'm going to start in what may seem like an unusual place, considering the topic is the things that we love. I want to talk about people for a moment. And it is my considered belief that absolutely, positively, nothing matters as much to people as other people. Other people are the overriding and overwhelming concern an enormous amount of the time. It sounds like I just gave a very long argument why we shouldn't care about the topic of this talk. Because I've been telling you why interpersonal relationships are so important, and the topic of this talk is things that we love, brand love, not interpersonal relationships. So why are these things important? Well, let's begin by just taking a poll here. What is the fastest you have ever driven? 160? 170? 180? 200 kilometers an hour? Okay, I'm stopping here. I don't want to go any further. I'm sure it was done in a very safe way. When human beings evolved, there were no cars. What did we evolve to be able to do? We evolved so that we could run through the woods. That's what our body is designed to do, to run at certain types of speeds. But what we do when we drive a car is we take these physical systems and psychological systems that were developed for one purpose, running, and we apply them in a completely different purpose. Right? So we take the old system, apply it in a new way, in this case for driving, and the amazing thing is that it works. That you're all here. You were driving at these incredible speeds, and you didn't die, which is astonishing when you think about it, given what the system was originally set up for and set up to do. Love is a system. It's a system that has psychological and physiological and neurological elements to it. So what was this system really designed for? What's it about? Well, love is a system that was designed for families, for creating and maintaining families, and for having children that live long enough to grow up to be successful adults and also have children. So what does it mean in particular? Well, first of all, there's the attraction that we all know and think of as part of love that gets the couple together. But there's also the need for a long-lasting relationship, because human beings take a long time to reach maturity. And you need to have a relationship that's going to be there as the child is growing up and reaching maturity. And finally, there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into being a parent. People are not fish. Fish lay 500 eggs and then swim off, and that's the end of it. People have a completely opposite reproductive strategy, because we normally have one baby at a time, and then we invest an incredible amount of time, energy, and sacrifice in this person, hopefully so they will grow up and be a successful adult. So this is what the system of love is meant to do, and you can see it's not just a feeling that you have for a minute, but it's a relationship that can last for a lifetime. What we do, in the same way that we take our ability to run and apply it to driving, we take this system that was sort of evolved for interpersonal relationships, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes we apply it in a new way. we apply it to products, brands, other kinds of things in our environment. So love is incredibly important because the process of having and raising children is incredibly important. Because love is so important, the systems, the psychological systems that underlie it are extremely powerful. And we know that. If you look at examples of people who die for love or sadly kill for love, it's an extremely powerful motivational system. When this happens, it is the marketer's dream. Marketers love this. Because think about what's going to happen here. First of all, you have that strong attraction. Well, that's great. That's what we want. We want strong attraction to our products. It makes it easy to get people to try the product. You get a long-lasting relationship. Well, that produces customer loyalty. That's great. That's what we want. You get sacrifice. People are willing to make sacrifices. If your product isn't in the closest store to them, they might go to the next store. It's not a huge sacrifice, but people don't do it for most products. So something like that is very important, or a little bit of price insensitivity is also very important. And then there's a special bonus. The special bonus is, and you've probably noticed this in your own life, people love to talk about the things that they love. You ask any parent about their child or children, and they will go on forever talking about their kids until they realize you don't really want that much information about their children. But this also carries over when people love something. They love their car, their computer, they love running. They'll tell you about it. And so this produces a lot of positive word of mouth and recommendations. There are three kinds of things that underlie brand love. So the first thing is quality and trust. People love products when they believe they're great, and they believe they're great when they love the product. It goes both ways. So if you think about two cars that came out around 1968, this BMW 2002 and the MG Midget, both were kind of sexy cars. Honestly, the MG Midget was probably a lot sexier in some ways than the BMW, but the BMW built an enormous ongoing global company, and the MG Midget did not. And the difference was the MG Midget was fun, but not reliable. And this is what my friend and colleague Susan Fournier calls a fling, right? It's sexy, but not reliable. Does that sound familiar to anyone from your interpersonal life? That's a fling. Whereas the BMW, that's a marriage. And that's something that is going to endure over time more. So you need that quality, you need that trust. But then there's also issues about the product being a part of your identity, a part of your sense of who you are, what it makes you sort of the person you are. There's some connection between that and this brand in a positive way. So when I talk to students, by far and away the most loved brand for students right now is Apple. This comes up all the time in my interviews with young people. And this ad really captures two of these points very, very well. First, it starts out and says, why you'll love a Mac. So they're using the term here, interestingly. And the first reason is, it just works. And they go on to talk about the practical advantages of a Mac and how it doesn't have these frustrating negative experiences. That's what the words say. But what does the picture say? Look at these two guys there. The picture says, if you are a PC or someone who uses a PC, you're this kind of person. You're a dweeby guy. But if you use Apple, if you're a Mac, you're this kind of person. You're much hipper, cooler, casual, attractive in a lot of ways. So the personality part is very powerful as why people love certain things. The third part is that the products or brands that people love, they're not only part of their identity, but they're very much part of their life. And let me give you a couple examples to show what I mean by that. So in an interview a little while ago, I was talking to a woman who said, I used to love my iPod, but I don't love my iPod anymore. Why? And I was thinking perhaps it broke or did something bad or had a bad feature. No. It worked perfectly when I loved it, and it works perfectly now. However, it used to be her job was about an hour from her home. So she had an hour commute in each direction, 1 hour going, 1 hour coming back. And during that whole time, she would listen to her iPod, and therefore her iPod was very much a part of her daily life. Now she has a different job. It's only 5 minutes from where she lives. She can walk there. She doesn't use the iPod for this short distance. And so the iPod sits on the shelf in the closet unused. She knows that the iPod hasn't changed. But simply because she used to use it a lot and now she doesn't use it as much, she really feels that she doesn't love it as much. So what happens with products and brands is you do get this kind of out of sight, out of mind thing, or out of sight, out of heart thing, where absence, it doesn't make the heart grow fonder. It makes the heart grow kind of indifferent. And that's not a good thing for marketers. Research shows that this actually works at a practical managerial level. So we published a paper a little while ago in Journal of Marketing. And we talked about our model, we developed a model, and we used it to predict various managerial outcomes. Repurchase intentions from consumers, positive word of mouth, questioning negative information about the brand, and loyalty to the brand relationship. And we found that we were able to explain 61% of the difference between consumers. Some are more loyal, some are less loyal. We were able to explain 61% of that difference between them using our model. And that was more explanatory power, a better predictor of these than conventional models that looked simply at attitude and quality. So that was pretty good at that point. That was the best result from any of the competing models. Yesterday, I was talking with your friend, Rick Boghosi, and we were talking about the current state of the research. We've been doing a new study. He had analyzed the data, and he came in and said, well, with the new data, we can explain 87% of the difference between, some people who are highly brand loyal, some people who are not. Some people who intend to purchase the product again, people who don't. When you get to the point where you can explain 87% of what's going on, that's pretty good in terms of having a sense that you really you're getting at a fundamental level what might be happening.